Dr. Reena here. I'm a dental specialist and founder of RW Perio, located at 75 Harley Street. Welcome to my podcast, Life and Smile, where we talk about everything dental, lifestyle, business, and much more. Every episode, I'm joining conversation with a specialist expert in their chosen field, who give us a behind-the-scenes glimpse into their daily regime, career turning points, and an insider look at what they can't live without. As a businesswoman myself, it's so inspiring to hear how people have built their careers and shattered those glass ceilings. So let's get the conversation going. What I find most inspiring about hosting the Life and Smile podcast, and one of the reasons we wanted to create it in the first place, was to be able to build a conversation and have in-depth discussions with guests who have created and evolved hugely successful careers. But what we want to explore really is how they got to this stage and how they make it work, often in quite contrasting industries. Welcoming to 75 Harley Street today is an editor and writer whose career I have personally admired for many, many years. I'm so excited that she's able to join me in person, considering she has an extremely in-demand schedule. It is, of course, Lydia Slater, Editor-in-Chief for Harper's Bazaar UK. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So, Lydia, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you back here in Harley Street. So you've got such a high-profile and influential role as Editor-in-Chief for Harper's Bazaar UK. You've been in the global publishing industry, involved with an incredibly impressive portfolio of titles throughout your career to date. This is an industry where the landscape ensures you're involved with multiple channels and responsible for generating and editing content across print, digital, supplement, and of course the experiential offering. Take me back to where it all started. Tell us, I mean, you're involved with so much right now. Where did it all begin? How did you start out?
Well, I think the very first time I had anything published, I was 4, and It was in my school magazine. And I really remember the kind of incredible excitement I felt opening it up and seeing what I'd written in that sort of terrible wonky handwriting and the drawing that I'd done as well. I no longer do that. And I think, honestly, at that moment, I thought, this is what I want to do. So then when I was 17, the first thing I wrote that was sort of published properly was actually for Harper's and Queen, which is obviously what Harper's Bazaar used to be. And they had a teenage issue, and I was 17, and I was sort of asked to help them compile it, and I wrote some features for it, and again, that was just fantastically exciting. So I did some journalism when I was at university, and then I entered the Vogue Talent Contest.
Right.
And I came second. And it's really funny because I've never met anyone who came first, because my predecessor at Harper's Bazaar, Justine Picardy, also entered the Vogue Talent Contest and also came second. So I think that's clearly, a good sign.
Yeah.
And yes, and so then I started out actually in newspapers, and I was at the Daily Mail, and then I went to the Daily Telegraph. And then I had an incredibly brief stint at the Sunday Express. I was their features editor for a month. It wasn't the job that I thought I was going for. I was going to be editing a magazine. And everything changed between the time that I resigned my job at the Daily Telegraph and the time I arrived at the Express. And it really wasn't for me. And then I heard about this features editor job going at Harper's and Queen. So I went there, and I absolutely loved it. And it made me really fall in love with magazines. And I've sort of...
What a journey. I mean, the fact that, how does it feel? You were published when you were 4 years old and then 17 in that very magazine. Now you are editor-in-chief. Did you always know that was something that you wanted to do? And how does it feel to go from there to where you are now?
Honestly, it just feels, it's my happy place. I love that particular magazine. I think Harper's Bazaar is just really unique because it kind of unifies. It's a it's the world's first fashion magazine. It's the oldest fashion magazine in the world. But what it's always had right from the start as well is this sort of incredible mission to empower its women readers, which I really, really believe in. And as well as that, it's got this sort of incredible literary and cultural heritage as well. And I think bringing together all those elements is something that I really value. So yes, it's a very beautiful fashion magazine, but also, every month we have really brilliant writers. We have people like Margaret Atwood writing for us, and fantastic photography, and we specifically aim to publish women photographers. I don't know any other British magazine that's really trying to do that. So it's the magazine. It's an incredible privilege to be allowed to edit it because, it's over 150 years old, and there have been some incredible, women editors along the way. Carmel Snow is one of them. She was the person who sort of coined the whole phrase, the new look. And then Diana Vreeland was the fashion editor. And, it's really sort of incredible heritage. But, when you're actually in that, in the hot seat, you can, to an extent, make it the magazine that you personally want to read.
Yes. Amazing. So on that note, actually, you've been recognised for championing the career trajectories of many women. If there was some advice that you had to give your younger self or another woman starting off on the same kind of career pathway, what would that be?
Gosh, that's a really tricky one. I think I would say yes, because I think very often we hold ourselves back for fear of making a mistake or looking stupid. And actually it's, yes, you might make a mistake and you might look stupid, but that's really not the end of the world. And equally, it might be the start of something incredible. I very recently was talking to a really great actress who said to me that when she starts out in a film, she always tries to mess up really fast because then people will start to direct her. And if they feel too nervous because of her status, then they just let her get on with it. And actually, it's much more interesting when you get other people's perspectives, and it helps you produce a much better performance. So her point was we shouldn't be afraid of failing. And I can't say I'm not afraid of failing. Of course I am, but I try really hard not to be.
So saying yes, what's your feeling on because with me, I think I always have like a good gut feeling about things or a bad gut feeling. And sometimes when I'm not sure, and I do agree, saying yes can open up so many opportunities. And often it's just an internal thing where you're trying to almost hold yourself back, but it's the right thing to do. Do you find in your career, like, did you go with your gut feeling? Does that do you ever apply that?
I mean, I'm always challenged constantly every day. I'm asked to do things, and they're not necessarily always in my comfort zone. And I am just constantly trying to push myself because you never know. I mean, I'm always sort of slightly tormented by this feeling that, perhaps I'm a brilliant golfer or something, but I will never ever know because I've never picked up a golf club, and it's that sort of thing. It's like, well, yeah, why not give it a go? And then, how bad can it be, really?
Exactly. What's the worst case scenario?
Exactly.
Makes total sense. So both the commercial and editorial landscapes have developed dramatically over the past decade with a demand for instant news accessibility and fast-paced content. So you must be constantly having to adapt to the ever-changing demands of the industry. And based on this, from where you started to where you are now, I mean, getting and navigating through all of that, what would you say has been your sort of proudest moment to date?
God.
Because the industry must have changed quite dramatically.
I mean, there have been some, many, many amazing moments, from meeting sort of the heroines of my youth. I think when I first arrived at Bazaar, I was given this franchise, Bazaar at Work, to sort of look after. And at the time, it was something that happened quarterly, and it was very much about what you wore.
Right.
And I sort of wanted it to be something that I could really get a lot out of, and I built it up into weekly thing, and then we turned a monthly feature, and then we turned it into a monthly event series, and then that became the Bazaar Summit, which is our sort of annual conference for women in leadership. We've had some really incredible women joining us there. Gosh, off the top of my head, I mean, people like Rosamund Pike and the former Prime Minister of Australia, and it's a very intoxicating mix of business women and sort of superstars and
lifestyle,
and just that first one that we launched in 2017, to see something that I'd sort of thought of just actually come to life and actually be so inspiring was a really great moment for me.
Amazing. Any other life goals still on your agenda?
God, so many. Apart from being brilliant at golf, obviously. I've been told on and over that I should write a book, and I'm sort of beginning to feel that maybe now I should just get on with it.
Yeah, that would be incredible. Super inspirational, I'm sure. So bringing things now to your sort of day-to-day routine. You obviously have accomplished so much. So there must be something that sort of drives you. I mean, what inspires you on a day-to-day basis to be able to achieve so much? Is there like an editor or mentor that you've always turned to, or a particular book?
Oh, gosh. Well, I think I've been incredibly lucky over the years because I work with a whole series of super inspiring women. I mean, I mentioned Justine Picardy. She, I talk to her regularly. I find, she's really inspiring and also very supportive. But my previous editor at Harper and Queen, Fiona McPherson, was also absolutely brilliant. And then right from the start of my career, actually, I think I've been sort of supported along the way by the women that went before, and just actually also just seeing them get there and what they achieved, while having children and all the rest of it, I think has been really, really helpful.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's nice when you've especially as a woman, when you see someone successfully juggling all parts of their life. It's not that you just have to focus on your career or your family or anything else. It's so inspirational to be able to juggle the whole thing and do it really well and enjoy it.
Exactly.
So your impressive background has seen you involved collaborating with many multi-industry experts responsible for the output of a vast edit of subjects that have been covered. You're combining luxury fashion with the best of culture, arts, literary worlds. Do you have any personal favorites in terms of topics that you like to be involved in, or pieces that really stood out for you? Those something that you knew would have a huge impact? Any like particular favorites?
I mean, I think what I love about working at Bazaar is just that the whole range of it all. And it's, we try really hard to bring inspirational stories to the readers, but it's not, 1 month it might be talking to Maria Grazia Curie, the creative director of Dior, about her, what inspires her and her process. So that would be the fashion story that's inspiring, or it might be an interview with some incredible women who are fighting the data war in Ukraine, to sort of to combat disinformation, or it's just the thing about Bazaar is that we can sort of cover anything that we think is fascinating, and we do everything from the metaverse to couture.
So it's the variety of it, really.
Exactly.
The whole mix of it.
It is the mix of it, and you asked me before about what gets me up in the morning, and actually it is working with that sort of incredibly brilliant team of kind of everybody's an expert, but also everybody really loves working with each other, and it's just a brilliant place to be.
Yeah, it must be. I mean, it's so nice with my team as well. You're coming into work, the energy is really high. Everyone actually wants to be there.
Yeah,
it makes such a big difference to also your productivity and I'm sure your thoughts, etc., throughout the day as well. So, I mean, looking at obviously very, very contrasting industries, but both very fast-paced, high demands, deadlines, having to multitask, think on your feet constantly. So, working in London, you're obviously balancing your whole week, your whole day. What would be a sort of typical day in the life of Lydia Slater?
I gave this some thought, but I know it's a bit of a cliche, but there literally wouldn't be a typical day.
Right,
and I think that's why I like it. I mean, I work so, as from next week, I'm talking sort of mid-September,
Sure.
It's the fashion shows. So I will be running around from morning till night, going to see different shows. Then I'll be traveling to Milan. Then I'll be going to Paris. And that'll be sort of shows and appointments and dinners and cocktails, and that's all brilliant. But another time, maybe I'm doing an interview with someone, so I have to go to a screening, or I go to see an artist's new launch, or I'm at home writing, or I've got endless meetings about what we're going to do next. So every day is very different, and it's very busy, and I really like that, because I think I'm somebody who's quite easily bored, and actually being bored is my big fear.
So you like being busy, constantly doing something. Do you ever switch off then? Do you find that you're always constantly thinking of ideas and the next project, or how do you actually switch off?
I am quite good at switching off.
Okay, that's good.
I get home and then I sort of try and stay off screens.
Okay.
And I like to read books. I'm very fond of sort of classic. I love an Agatha Christie. And I like my garden. And hang out with my children, my dog, So it's nice. I mean, I do consciously try and have that sort of that break, because otherwise you could just go out every night 10 times and never see your family.
Yeah, for sure. Have you always had that discipline then, like to have a cut off? Because sometimes, I mean, when I first started off, when I set up the practice, it was literally 24/7. But now I've got into a really good routine where I'm being disciplined with being disciplined. Like actually, because I think that time to re-energize is super important for you to be productive when you are working. Do you feel like you always like that, or is it something you've had to build into your lifestyle?
I mean, I definitely think the whole Bazaar at work thing has really helped me with that, because I've talked to some really, really successful women, and most of them will say, yes, that's what I do, or I consciously switch off after 6 p.m. or whatever, and you think, well, if the former prime minister can do that or whatever, then surely I can as well. And I think you just have to set your boundaries, and once you've done that, people accept them.
Makes complete sense. So when you are doing your writing at your desk, what 3 things would we always find on your desk as your kind of mini survival kit as such?
Well, I always have a scented candle, because I really like them. I have a cup of tea.
Snap.
And I like to have my Smileston desk diary, because it just makes me feel very organized, even if the day is crazy. I can see it's all laid out there, so I always have one of those on the go.
Nice. Very close to what I do as well. So essential pieces for the day. And when you're off duty, so any particular favorite spots in London or globally, like where would you enjoy your time when you're not working?
Well, as one of the lovely bits of my job is also that I get to sort of try lots of new restaurants and things like that, which is a huge privilege, and I love it. But that means, I suppose, that when I'm kind of just doing something for me, it quite often tends to be the kind of old favourites. So I think during World War II, the Bazaar editors were a sort of fixture at Claridge's, and so I like to feel I'm sort of following in their footsteps. I love Claridge's. I just love the atmosphere, and it's just so glamorous. And often when I'm at the shows as well in Paris and Milan, it's that the big hotels, the lobbies of the big hotels are where people tend to hang out, because they're just sort of totally classic and always stylish. So I do love them. And then again, Sheiky's off St Martin's Lane. I've just never had a bad evening there. So I do like to go there for a special treat. I really love it.
Amazing. Well, I know you are super, super busy, so I'm really grateful for this conversation. It's so inspiring to see how much you've done in your career, and how you've supported other women as well, in business, lifestyle, culture, art, everything else. So thank you for sharing an insight into your day-to-day life, and what helps and inspires you as well. I'm sure the listeners will find it super inspirational as well. Any like big exciting things coming up that we can look out for, on our radar?
Gosh, yes. Well, so many, obviously. November issue is our art issue. It's the 10th anniversary art issue, and there's a very, very special cover star collaborating with a big artist, so that's really exciting. And then we have our summit also that I mentioned earlier. That's going to be in mid-November. And Women of the Year is sort of the highlight of our year, and it's when we celebrate the incredible women who've made such a difference to the year, so look out for that. Amazing, lots to look forward to. Thanks again, Lydia, and hope to see you again at Harley Street soon. Thanks so much. Thank you.